In this lesson, we'll begin sculpting the headband. So this is pretty much where we left off. We want to now sculpt the headband. I'm going to lock the head so that we're not accidentally trying to sculpt the head itself. So let's go ahead and add a few divisions to this. And I'm going to get grab and use mirroring in the X. You can see we've got a few little visual artifacts here just from the fact that we've got this locked. If we turn this off, change the visibility, it's going to look fine. And so let's go ahead and increase the brush size. And then I'm just going to pull this out so it is outside of the head. And remember also that we're going to have hair that this headband is going to be outside of. And so we don't necessarily want it to be right up against the head and the skin. We want to have a little bit of room here to actually have hair. And we'll still be able to tweak this later on, but I'm going to try to leave a little bit of a gap here. I know up at the front, though, it's going to be right up against his forehead. Okay, so I'm going to try to make that happen. And this is made of cloth, so it can be really flexible, can conform to the mesh, so we don't have to be too careful about this. So right along the forehead, I'll have it come right up against his head, and then we'll try to leave a little bit of room here on the side. You can have it start to kind of come down a little bit around the ears. Maybe back here it comes down a little bit more, and maybe where it starts to, where we start to tie it together, it can be a little bit more tight, and so maybe take that thickness down a little bit as it starts to come into the back, into this area. Okay, we can sort of break up this knot a little bit. So right now it's kind of just a perfect knot, or perfect torus, but we want to just kind of break this up. So just come in here. We can kind of flatten out the sides a little bit, bring some of that down, and just kind of mess it up a little. Okay, and this, we're still just using our grab. Now, as far as these things go, we can start to come in and add a little bit of shape to those. Kind of just bringing that in. Add a little bit of a curve to that. You do the same to this one. All right, and just add a little bit of shape. Keeping in mind we are going to have hair back here, so probably want to have a little bit more of a gap. It's going to be tight up against there, but we want to still leave a little bit of room. Okay, now we can go ahead and let's subdivide this again. Go get sculpt, and I want to use some of these vector displacements. And so right now, if we just take a look at this, you can see that I can get kind of a fold with a wrinkle on the bottom if I go in this direction. If I go in this direction, it's going to have the wrinkle on top. So we can use that to kind of build out our folds here. Let's go ahead and turn on mirroring, actually. And so just concentrating up here, I can start real lightly coming in. I'll maybe subdivide this one more time so we get a nice tight line. We can come in and start to paint this in. All right. And so we can just start to add some of those wrinkles in here for this bandana. You'll have more of them coming in the back, and they'll be a lot tighter. We can kind of cross over. If we want to get that, just that crease, we can sort of come in here and start to crease that up, and then continue it on up here, where it in certain areas can be a little bit deeper, and in certain areas it's a little bit lighter. Okay, you just want to create that sort of folded look, and again, those vector displacements will help. You can dial our strength down a little bit and really just play around with those. Again, probably get a little bit more of those wrinkles as you come into the back where it's all tied together. You can do the same thing here. Let's grab one of these and just maybe on the outside of this, create that sort of bunched look, and then it kind of smooths itself out as it goes down to the bottom. You can turn off our symmetry, and then go back and take our sort of crease and dial this down a bit, and just right where it comes in to that knot, just add a little bit of creasing to that. Alright, we want to not forget these knots, so we can come in here, add a little bit of that line in there, kind of do the same thing coming out here. Oh, this is kind of bunched together and wrapped around, so we want to make sure to try to get that look with the sculpting that we're doing. So again, as it comes out of this area where it's really tight, we'll probably have a little bit more bunching. Same thing coming in from out here and in here. So we'll just go ahead and add that to our sculpt. All right. So you can do a little bit more shaping. Keep in mind that we are going to have hair in here once again. So, you know, this looks like it's sort of floating a little bit, but we're going to need to have a little bit more room there. And so that's why we've kind of left that be. All right. So now that we have kind of a sculpt for the sort of bandana here, the next thing that, that we want to do is to come in and actually start to build the hair. So we want to build that in Maya and then come in and do the same thing as far as the sculpting goes here in Mudbox. So we'll go ahead and start that process in the next lesson.